The day my fiancée was secretly meeting her childhood friend, I warned her to cut it off. I told her not to test my limits. Instead, she blew up, accusing me of being suspicious. "He's just my best guy friend," she'd said. "Do you have to be so insecure?" I just laughed coldly. If she wanted to challenge my boundaries, I was happy to oblige. It was a perfectly ordinary day. I was slouched in my custom-built gaming chair, not because I had any intention of playing games, but simply because I could. As I was resting with my eyes closed, the butler's voice, deliberately low, reached my ear. "Mr. Carter, according to my sources, Ms. Walton went to see her childhood friend today. Vanessa Walton, the fiancée my parents had arranged for me. I'd only met her once, right after the introduction. After that, we barely saw each other. But she was, in name, my fiancée. The moment she got that title, my family assigned a full security detail to her. She thought it was just for show, but my family's security team doesn't mess around. Today, she had insisted on going out without them." The butler handed me a tablet. The screen glowed. "He's just my best guy friend," she shot back, infuriated. "Are you really that petty and insecure? My best guy friend." The anger flared inside me. How dare this woman turn this back on me? "Let me remind you of something," I said, my voice dropping. "With a single word from me, your entire family will be out on the street. Who gave you the nerve to speak to me like this?" The line went dead silent, except for her ragged breathing. I knew she was thinking about the family gala last week, where my father had casually mentioned the billion-dollar capital injection plan for the Walton Corporation. It was the last lifeline holding their crumbling business empire together. "You have until the end of the day to bring that pretty boy here to apologize to me. Otherwise, the consequences will be far worse than just being homeless." But it's already so late. Her voice was now a weak whisper, like a bird with its neck squeezed. "Then you'd better move fast. My patience is limited. You miss the deadline, you miss your chance." I hung up. Less than an hour later, the doorbell rang insistently. On the security monitor, I saw Vanessa dragging a pale-faced young man back and forth in front of the ornate iron gates. The man was wearing trendy streetwear, and on his wrist was a matching couple's bracelet, identical to Vanessa's. I had the guards let them in. My security team immediately forced the man to his knees, his arms pinned behind him. His legs were shaking. He clearly wasn't used to this kind of reception. Vanessa stood beside him, too scared to even breathe heavily. "Lift his head." The butler walked over, grabbed the man's chin, and forced his head up. He was decent-looking, with smooth skin. The perfect-kept man. "Mr. Carter, you've misunderstood," the man stammered, trying to save himself. "Vanessa and I are just friends. A man of your stature wouldn't bother with someone like me, right? Did I say you could speak?" "Slap him." At my command, the butler delivered a sharp slap across the man's face. "Enough, Ethan. When are you going to stop this?" Vanessa screamed, rushing forward as she saw him get hit. My guards blocked her easily. "I told you, he's just my best friend. What more do you want? For me to never speak to another man for the rest of my life?" "Best friend? Funny, he told me he was your boyfriend." I pulled out my phone and played the recording I'd prepared. When the word boyfriend echoed from the speaker, the man's face went white. "No, Vanessa, I thought it was some creep harassing you. I was just trying to scare him off for you." He struggled against the guards, but it was useless. "And you?" I said, turning my gaze back to Vanessa. "You're a wonderful fiancé, taking showers at another man's place. Since you already know, I'll drop the act," she sneered, her true colors finally showing. "So what if you have money? You don't know the first thing about real love." "That's right. I agreed to marry you for your family's money. So you admit you were messing around with this guy?" "Yes. With him, I feel true love. He gives me the emotional connection you never could." I had to laugh. She talked about emotional connection, but every time she needed money for anything, including, I presumed, the cash to support this pretty boy, she came to me. "I'm warning you, if you don't let Alex go right now, you can forget about ever marrying me." How boring. This woman either had no grasp of the situation or was just an idiot. "So noisy. Slap her." A female guard stepped forward and struck Vanessa across the face. Her cheeks swelled instantly. "All right, call her parents to come pick up their trash." The butler made the call. Soon after, Mr. and Mrs. Walton were escorted in. Seeing Vanessa's swollen face, her mother started complaining. "Ethan, what is all this? Can't we talk things out? Just apologize to Vanessa, and we can put this behind us." "Me, apologize to her? You must still be dreaming. It seems a lack of sense runs in the family," I said. "You should ask her what she's done." Her parents pulled Vanessa aside. I didn't care what they were whispering about. The fate of the Walton family was already sealed. A few minutes later, they walked back over to me. It was all a misunderstanding," Mr. Walton said with a forced smile. "That young man is just a friend." Of course, Vanessa was a bit out of line. "Don't worry, We'll take her home and discipline her properly. Discipline won't be necessary. This woman is tainted. I won't be marrying her, I stated flatly. I called you here because you have two options. 1. You get rid of this pretty boy and give me half of the Walton family assets. 2. You return every single penny your family has taken from the Carters, with 50% interest for my emotional distress. The amount of money and assets the Waltons had received from my family since the engagement was staggering. Of course, whichever option you choose, I'm not marrying her. You have 5 seconds. The Astors arrived shortly after. When I saw the girl, Isabella Astor, I had to admit she was my type, aesthetically speaking. But that was all. In my eyes, an arranged marriage partner was just another piece on the chessboard. After our parents made their excuses and left, Isabella and I were alone in the room. Isabella Astor, I presume? I'm Ethan Carter. I extended my hand, and she shook it briefly. I don't know what your thoughts are on this arrangement, Ms. Astor. I began, getting straight to the point. As long as my partner is loyal to me, I don't care about family background or anything else. I'm putting my cards on the table. This is a political marriage. Love is secondary. What matters is that there are no entanglements with other people. So if you have something to hide, or if you're having second thoughts, now is the time to say so. I'm fine with it, she said, though she seemed distracted, her mind elsewhere. Whatever. This would have to do for now. Once she was on the Carter family's ship, getting off would come at a steep price. Soon after, our parents decided we should spend some time getting to know each other before setting a wedding date, to avoid any more complications. Getting to know each other amounted to 3 scheduled phone calls a week. She mentioned she liked calligraphy, so I sent her a set of antique writing instruments. She said she liked porcelain, so I bought a Yuan Dynasty blue and white vase at auction for over $100 million and had it delivered to her. I have nothing if not money. As for meeting in person, we saw each other a total of 3 times that month, for no more than half an hour each time. She was mostly lost in thought, stirring her coffee with a teaspoon for 10 minutes straight. It was clear she was as invested in this marriage as I was, which is to say, not at all. But I didn't care. My duty was to produce an heir. Everything else, I could manage. In what felt like no time, the wedding day arrived. The Carter and Astor families had sent invitations to every person of consequence in the city. Everything should have gone according to plan. But when things are going too smoothly, you know something is about to go wrong. The ceremony was proceeding as scheduled. The officiant was in the middle of his speech. Everything was on track. Ethan Carter, do you take Isabella Astor to be your wife? I do. Isabella Astor, do you take Ethan Carter to be your husband? I object. The words were barely out of the officiant's mouth when the doors to the hall were thrown open. A man in a white suit burst in, and Isabella, who had always been so distant, looked at him with a light in her eyes I had never seen before. Leo, you finally came for me. Leo, the first time I'd ever heard the name. Isabella started to lift her gown to run off the altar, but I grabbed her arm. I glanced down at the guests. My parents were staring daggers at Isabella's parents, who looked just as shocked as everyone else. What is the meaning of this? I asked her quietly. Are you leaving with him? She looked at me, a flicker of guilt in her eyes, and then looked down. Her silence was an admission. My mind was reeling. The hotel security was a joke, letting a wedding crasher just walk in. I thought the Carter name alone would have been enough to deter any troublemakers. I should have posted my own security at the doors. I never thought something as cliché as a runaway bride would happen to me, Ethan Carter. First things first, I had to control the situation. This woman was finished, but I couldn't deal with her now. That would come later. I snatched the microphone from the officiant's hand. Ladies and gentlemen, due to an unforeseen situation, the wedding is canceled. Please accept my apologies for this inconvenience. On behalf of the Carter family, please enjoy the food and drinks. I handed the microphone back and walked off towards the back of the venue without a second glance. I didn't care what happened on that stage. How laughable. Someone dared to steal a bride at my wedding. Isabella Astor. Leo. Very good. You've successfully provoked me. I will make you understand the price of offending the Carter family. This time, I won't give anyone a second chance. Whether it's love or a so-called marriage alliance, everyone will play by my rules. After the wedding fiasco, I initiated a systematic campaign of revenge against the Astor family. A legacy of culture and art. Huh? You care about your reputation more than anything? Then I'll drag your reputation through the mud. And Isabella, the pristine daughter? I'll show the world how she accepted my lavish gifts only to abandon me at the altar. Let everyone see what kind of person she really is. And this Leo, just some third-rate painter. He actually had the guts to steal my bride. I don't know what his motive was, but coming after me with no backing? He was finished. None of them would escape. I would show them what it means to be utterly and completely ruined. Soon, Isabella's father, the chairman of the board at the Met, was suspended from his position. An anonymous source had filed a detailed report with evidence accusing him of accepting massive bribes. An official investigation was launched. It would take time to get a result, but it was enough to tarnish the Astor name. And since he was the chairman, it was the perfect opportunity to dig into his past. Sure enough, my team found evidence of him attending a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a shell corporation years ago, a corporation tied to a major offshore money laundering scheme. Coincidentally, a major influencer had recently made headlines after being scammed by a related Ponzi scheme. I used the opportunity to add fuel to the fire, having my PR department buy up trending spots on Twitter. I have plenty of money. Keeping this story at the top of the trending list for a month was no problem. Soon, a new hashtag was everywhere. Hashtag influencer vanishes in overseas scam. And right next to it, hashtag arch chairman tied to financial fraud. Next was Isabella. I didn't have to do much myself. I just released a short clip from the wedding security footage showing her running away, then spliced it with images of the gifts I'd given her. It instantly became the gold digger bride story of the year. Then, some anonymous account posted a list of all the items I had sent her. The original post was deleted, but with a little push from me, the list went viral. Isabella was trapped. There was no explaining her way out of it. Finally, there was Leo. He was even easier. A background check revealed a mountain of dirt. He'd been blacklisted in Europe for forging paintings and had only returned to the States because he couldn't find work there. Now he was selling his art on the street. I have no idea what Isabella saw in him. I had a few content farms write some creative hit pieces on him, and just like that, he became a social pariah. To complete the picture, I had some candid photos leaked of me sitting alone in a cafe, looking haggard. I was cast as the victim, ensuring public sympathy was on my side. With that multi-pronged attack, the Astor family was done. Leo had been thrown out by the Astors long ago and was now begging at a subway station. I heard he got into a fight over turf with some local thugs a few days ago, and they broke his hand. He wouldn't be painting again anytime soon. One day, while the scandal was still raging online, I got a call from Isabella. "The story's online. That was your doing, wasn't it?" Her voice was hoarse. Dealing with the fallout was clearly taking its toll. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said coolly. "If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." I would never admit to it. Who knew if she was recording the call? "Wait, don't hang up," she said. "I know this is a difficult thing to ask, but can you lend me some money?" I wasn't expecting that. Money? What for? You shouldn't be short on cash. She still had all the antiques I'd sent her, including the $100 million vase. But I guess they had probably been frozen. My father is under investigation. All our family's assets are frozen. I can't even pay his legal fees. And you're coming to me for money? I chuckled. "Tell me, what is our relationship now?" The other end of the line went silent, save for her faint breathing. "You see, we don't seem to have a relationship anymore. I have no obligation to give you money. Why don't you ask Leo? He's a man of great courage, daring to crash my wedding. Surely he can spare some cash for your father's lawyers." "I can't find him anywhere." "Of course you can't. He's begging at a subway station on the outskirts of the city," I informed her. "Now, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." Seriously, she humiliated me in front of everyone. Did she really think I would let her off the hook so easily? I ended the call without waiting for a reply. 3 days later, Isabella showed up at my office building. I didn't stop her. I called the front desk and told them to send her up. She was wearing the same dress she wore when we first met, her hair styled the same way. She even had makeup on, but it couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. A female security guard reported that she had been searched and was not carrying any suspicious items. The executive floor of this skyscraper had 3 metal detectors between the elevator and my office, and the guards at the door carried tasers. "All right, what do you want?" I asked, leaning back. "My time is limited." To my surprise, she dropped to her knees. "Please, give my father a chance. He didn't know about the money laundering. It was a setup." Her voice trembled with suppressed emotion. "A setup?" I looked at her pathetic state and felt a surge of satisfaction. "Are you saying someone deliberately handed over the video of the ribbon cutting and the transaction records to the SEC? If you're looking to me to save him, you've come to the wrong person. After all, I had nothing to do with it. But you're the only one who can help him now. If you would just issue a statement to clarify, my father could walk away from this." I laughed coldly. "Clarify? Isabella, on what grounds are you negotiating with me? What do you have left to offer?" "Whatever you want. I'll give it to you," she said, looking up, her eyes filled with a desperate resolve. "Then tell me the story of you and Leo. If you entertain me, maybe I'll consider it." I leaned back, trying to find a more comfortable position. I was curious why she was so obsessed with him. And so I heard the most cliché, third-rate romance story. Leo was a street artist, and Isabella, passing by, was captivated by his work. They started talking and connected instantly. The poor, Struggling artist and the rich heiress desperate to break free from her gilded cage fell in love. Then the Carter Astor engagement happened, and her family cut off all contact between them. The rest was the predictable wedding crash. In a romance novel, the hero and heroine would have gotten there happily ever after, and the villain, me, would have gracefully bowed out. Too bad this wasn't a romance novel, and I wasn't the villain from a storybook. What a boring story, I said. Isabella lowered her head, silent. I opened a drawer and took out a black flash drive. Go home and watch this. It's part of my revenge plan, after all. The content is quite spectacular. I only got close to Isabella for the Astor money. I never loved her. She was only useful to me because she was the Astor heiress. I figured a spoiled rich kid like Ethan Carter wouldn't be able to do anything. Those were the words on the video I gave to Isabella. And the person speaking them? Leo. So it was all a lie? The video showed a bruised and beaten Leo. After he was kicked out by the Astor family, my men picked him up. I had this recording made specifically for her. It would be a shame if the intended audience never got to see it. A few days later, I received another call from Isabella. I was a bit surprised. I thought I'd never hear from her again. I let it ring for 30 seconds before answering. Hello, Ms. Astor. Did you watch the video? So it was all you? Her voice was still raspy. She clearly hadn't been sleeping. What if it was? The evidence is already with the SEC. Chairman Astor will spend the rest of his life in prison. As for you, my voice paused for effect. The whole world knows you're a runaway bride who shacked up with a fraud. You'll probably spend the rest of your life living with people pointing and whispering. There was a long silence on the other end. So long I thought she had hung up. Just as I was about to disconnect, I heard her let out a small, bitter laugh. You win, Ethan. But one day, you'll realize you're the most pathetic one of all. You think money can buy everything, but you've never had anything genuine in your life, have you? I responded with a cold laugh of my own. Genuine? Can your genuine feelings get you out of your current mess? You'll learn soon enough. Genuine feelings can't solve any real problems. But money can. After hanging up, I stopped paying attention to the Astors. Later, I heard that Leo had died and Isabella had been admitted to a psychiatric hospital. That chapter was finally closed. Anyone who tried to make a fool out of me was choosing their own destruction. I had learned my lesson. My parents had terrible judgment when it came to picking fiancés. Both women they chose for me ended up as jokes. So I decided to find someone myself. Someone smart, completely obedient, who knew what she should and shouldn't do. Go to the top universities we partner with. Screen a list of female students who meet the criteria. I instructed my butler, swirling the ice in my crystal glass. The standards are simple. Top-tier looks, excellent grades, a family with major medical debt, and no dating history. Most importantly, I looked up at him. It must be voluntary. Don't create any trouble for the legal department. That's right. Instead of letting my parents arrange things, I would just sponsor someone myself. I couldn't believe that among all those universities, I wouldn't be able to find one person who met my requirements. 3 days later, the butler handed me a file. Inside were the photos of 27 girls. I had no interest in their life stories. I told him to arrange interviews. Of course, every girl who came to my office would receive $100,000 for her time. It was enough to keep a seriously ill patient going for a while longer, but not enough to cure them. It was a test and a filter. Only someone truly desperate wouldn't refuse this advance payment. The interview process was simple and brutal. A psychologist assessed their resilience, my private doctor conducted a full physical, and then I would ask a few random questions, depending on my mood. After running through the process, one girl remained, Claire Miller. Her file said her mother had passed away early, and her father had liver cancer, kept alive by chemotherapy. She was a junior in college with outstanding grades. Despite winning national scholarships every year and working part-time jobs, her father's illness was crushing their fragile family. Now, she stood before me, dressed in clothes that were old but impeccably clean. Do you know why I've called you here? Yes, to be your woman, to attend social functions, bear your children, and, she glanced at the security monitors on my desk, never defy your will. Good. The choice is yours. You can accept this contract, or you can walk away. I accept. I placed a pre-printed contract in front of her. Don't be so hasty. Read the terms first. She flipped through the contract quickly, her eyes pausing on clauses prohibiting her from being alone with other men, requiring her to report her whereabouts, and a $30 million penalty for breach of contract. Her fingertips hesitated for a moment on the page where she voluntarily waived her right to privacy, but she signed her name and pressed her thumbprint on it nonetheless. Very good. As per the contract, I will arrange for your father's liver transplant within a month. You won't have to pay a cent. Thank you, Claire said. It was clear her father meant everything to her. No need for thanks. It's in the contract. I'll give you a week. You can arrange for your father's transfer to a better hospital. Then go back to your dorm, pack your things, and move in here. A security team will be with you. Mr. Carter, I don't need that much protection. It's part of the contract. Or are you planning to breach it already? Because I was kidnapped as a child, I spend hundreds of millions on my security detail every year. Assigning a medium-sized team to Claire was nothing. After Claire left with her new security detail, my butler spoke. Mr. Carter, you could have slowed down her father's treatment slightly, too. No, I cut him off. I don't need to resort to such petty tricks. I'm not afraid of anything. But if someone else tries to play games with me, they will face my wrath. Soon, Claire was living in my villa. On her 7th day, I watched on the monitor as she stood hesitating in front of the walk-in closet for 10 minutes. The 200-square-foot space was filled with couture gowns and cases of jewelry, but she clutched an old sweater from her canvas bag. It was one her mother had knitted for her as a child. Do you need help choosing a gown for this evening's charity gala, miss? A maid's voice startled her, and she took a step back. No, thank you. She chose the most understated black mermaid gown. The dress alone was worth more than a year of her father's nursing care. At the gala, she was like a perfectly programmed machine. The pressure of her hand on my arm, the precise number of teeth she showed when she smiled, her carefully worded responses to business and political figures, all had been drilled into her by an etiquette coach. When the host mentioned the future Mrs. Carter, her fingertips trembled slightly in my palm. It was the first time she had been publicly defined as my accessory. Honestly, with my status, I didn't need to be here. I only came to see how well Claire was adapting to her new role. If she performed to my standards, I wouldn't mind giving her the title. Ms. Miller, you are as talented as you are beautiful. I hear your father's surgery was a great success, the wife of a real estate tycoon said, approaching with a glass of champagne. Thanks to Mr. Carter's generosity, Claire's smile was flawless. I'm lucky to have met someone willing to take care of everything for me. I couldn't tell how much of it was an act, but it was a passable performance. After that, life fell into a routine. I allowed her to finish her degree before fulfilling the rest of our contract. When her father's surgery was successfully completed, I looked at the recovery report from the hospital, and a triumphant smile touched my lips. This wasn't just about saving her father. It was about locking her permanently into this transaction. From now on, Claire Miller would dance only to my tune, a player on my board. Years passed. Our daughter, Mia, was now old enough to run to kindergarten with ribbons in her hair. She tugged on my suit trousers, her hair still holding a few stray strands from the braids Claire had woven for her that morning. Daddy, the swings at school are higher than the ones in our garden. Go have fun. And listen to Arthur, I said, ruffling her pigtails as she bounced into the armored car. The old butler was carefully fastening her custom cartoon-themed seatbelt. As the convoy pulled away, my daughter pressed her face against the window and made a heart shape with her hands, her smile reminding me of Claire's when she learned her father's surgery was a success. When I got to my office, Claire was at my desk, organizing files. Here's the information on the overseas acquisition, she said, pushing a folder across the desk. I opened the folder, but my eyes fell on the wedding ring on her finger. 7 years ago, when she signed the contract, that finger was bare. Now, it wore a $1 million diamond ring. The inside was engraved with our wedding date, something she had requested. After she gave birth, according to the contract, she was free. If she had wanted to leave, I would have given her $30 million and let her go. The custody of our child, however, would have remained with me. But in the end, she chose to stay. I wasn't sure why. Was it for our daughter? Or for the life of luxury as Mrs. Carter? It didn't matter anymore. Claire was my wife now. Just as I had promised, if she made me happy, I had no problem giving her the title. With your abilities, you could have had a much bigger world than this. Instead of being a canary in my cage. Do you regret it? Being trapped in this golden cage I built for you? I asked her. Of course I regret it, she said with a light laugh. But when she turned to me, her eyes were shining. I regret not meeting you sooner. It would have saved me from so much suffering. You always call this a cage, but for me, it's the first place I've ever been able to get a peaceful night's sleep. Then, she took my hands in hers. I've known for a long time. Her voice was as soft as a feather. What you really want isn't an obedient canary. It's a partner who can stand by you silently and watch the world change with you. I wanted to say that was just part of the contract, but I stopped myself. If she was happy, that was enough. Over the years, my feelings for her had grown beyond the pages of our agreement. She was the mother of my child, and at the very least, she wasn't like Vanessa or Isabella, with her heart belonging to someone else while she went through the motions with me. That was enough. True connection is never a byproduct of a contract. It's what happens when two people, who once walked alone in the dark, finally decide to lower their defenses and step into the light together. And I, in this concrete jungle, had finally found my own star.